Is there a best fiber for that project you're about to start? Let's talk about it. Hello, hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly yarny podcast where I, Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, answer your yarny questions. Welcome. I am so glad you are here. Today we're talking a little bit about fiber. And today I'm going to wear my flossy shawl. I was flipping through my pattern library looking for things I hadn't put on in a while that would be appropriate, and I haven't worn this guy in a little while. So this is my flossy shawl. She is very large, but really nice and open, and so she makes a really great transition shawl. So I think today I'm going to, what am I gonna do? Maybe I should have planned this. I think I'm going to fold the top down. I'm going to fold her kind of like in half-ish, but I want that beautiful border to show. And then I think I'm going to put over one shoulder, maybe a little shorter, like that, over the other shoulder, and back around. So that leaves things kind of open and not too, you know, tight around my neck, and then show off that border because it's so pretty. This is feeling a little bit like if I were to go about my day, that this would probably fall off my shoulder. I don't have super like defined shoulders. And so I feel like this might slip a little bit. If I were going to wear this all day long, I'd probably put like a, oh my gosh, what are they called? Shawl pin right there to really hold it in place. And maybe even like, I don't know, zhuzh this a little more. Make sure that that lace is really showing off there. There we go. There we go. There we go. Maybe what I really want to do is put this underneath. And then that lace really shows off more. Oh yeah, I like that. And it feels more secure. I like the contrast that I have with the darker purple being right at the lace instead of kind of the transition. And I like that that feels like it's going to stay put. Okay. Let's talk about our question. Are there certain fibers that always go with certain types of projects? Like, do I always need to make a sweater out of wool? This is a great question. I feel like I was at the my local yarn shop yesterday. They have a yarny social time twice a week, and I try to attend just because I like yarn and people. And people were saying, there was like a discussion about like how closely do you need to follow a pattern? And there seemed to be kind of two camps. The camp that was like, I cannot stray. And the camp that was like, you're not the boss of me. And as a designer, I think I fall somewhere in the middle. So I guess the big answer is no. Not every sweater needs to be made with wool. Not every amigurumi needs to be made with cotton. Not every blanket needs to be made with acrylic. So no. But I do think there are some things that you need to consider as you're making a fiber choice for your project. So let's talk about those things. The first thing I think you need to consider is, what did the designer use? Like I said, there's a happy medium between you're not the boss of me and I can't possibly change anything about a pattern. Knowing or paying attention to what the designer used, I think, is important for a couple reasons. One, the designer likely had a reason for choosing that yarn. Unfortunately, unless they specify in the pattern why they chose the yarn they chose, you might not know exactly why. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes it's as simple as like, I wanted to play with a new fiber content. But sometimes it's for a really solid purpose. So like a designer may have chosen it because they really liked the drape of a certain fiber. So paying attention to what the designer chose, I think, is important. The further you stray from the type of yarn that the designer used, the more challenging the substitution is. It is not impossible. And it also doesn't mean, like, be adventurous. I have a friend of mine who, for a very long time, only did her stuff in cotton. And she tested a shawl of mine, and I did it in wool because I'm a wool gal. And she said, can I try it in cotton? And I said, sure. And it worked great. But wool and cotton behave very differently. So I guess my general rule of thumb is the further you stray from the fiber content that the designer chose, the more of a kind of an adventure it is, and it might not work out. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. If you want to make a sweater and you don't want to make it in wool, you might be better off finding a pattern that is already made in the fiber content you want to use, instead of making a dramatic fiber content shift. I hope that makes sense. Another thing I think you need to think about is, how is this item going to be used? So the purpose of an item can make a big difference in the yarn that you choose. And the first thing that comes to mind here is a pot holder or a trivet. My friends, you do not want to make a pot holder or a trivet in acrylic yarn. Because what does heat do to plastic, which acrylic essentially is? It melts it. And so you don't want to work up this gorgeous trivet in acrylic yarn, and the first time you set a hot pot on it, it just melts. Trying to think of other things that you're, oh, okay, how about this? Let's say you're going to make a pair of socks. And you're like, I really like this 100% wool yarn. I'm going to turn it into a pair of socks. The risk you run with some wools, now these are all like general rules, except for the melting plastic situation. Generally speaking, yarn for socks should have something that kind of strengthens the wool to give your socks durability. Can you make socks without one of those? Absolutely. Is it maybe more likely that you'll wear through the sock more quickly? Potentially. So you may look and say, I want to make a pair of socks. The designer used something that was wool and nylon. I don't want nylon. So you may change to something that's all wool and see how that goes. Maybe you find a more toothy, rustic, natural kind of wool that really wears great for you. Maybe you're not very tough on your socks. Or maybe you say, I want a natural fiber, so instead of nylon, I'm going to do silk in my sock base so that my socks hold up. So thinking about the use and the purpose, how much wear an item is going to get, can really make a difference in your yarn choice. But the same thing for one person can be untrue for another person. So let's say you're going to make a sweater and you're like, I always wear through my elbows, so I want to choose a yarn that I think is going to hold up to that wear. you may want something that has some sturdiness in it, like a silk or a nylon, whereas somebody else who, for, you know what, just whatever reason, doesn't wear through the elbows of their sweater, might be like, I can do 100% wool and not have a problem. So think about how it's going to be used. The other thing I need, goodness, do I need something today? I think that's twice I've said that. The other thing I think you need to think about is, how will the item be cared for? So this, I think, is super important in gift giving. So if you're going to give a finished item to someone, you need to think about how they are going to care for it. But also, I think when you make things for yourself, you need to be honest with yourself about how you're going to care for them. Are you the kind of person who can make a bunch of wool sweaters and hand wash them every time? That's awesome. But but if you're the type of person who just wants to, you know, throw your socks in the washing machine, you're going to choose a different fiber content, right? So I think that's important. And then with gift giving, you know, you might think, oh, how luxurious to make a cashmere baby blanket. But if the person who just had the baby is going to throw it in the washing machine, it's no bueno. So think about that. Both, I think, in the sense that you don't want to give someone a gift that's extra work that they're not up for. You know, had I given my mom an item that would need to be hand washed, she would understand that because she's a crafter. Had I given my sister-in-laws a gift that needed to be hand washed, they might be a little more like, thanks, because that's not that they don't value and appreciate things I make, but they're not a hand crafter. And so to them, that might not be worth the extra work of having a handmade thing, if that makes sense. So, you know, do all blankets need to be made in wool? No. Do all blankets need to be made in acrylic? No. But if you're going to make a blanket for a toddler who's going to drag it around in the dirt and love on it forever, do you want it to be a fiber that can easily be thrown in the washer and the dryer? Because that 2-year-old is not going to wait for that blanket to be air dried every time? Yeah, probably. But on the other side, if you're making something for yourself, you know, a luxurious, gorgeous wool blanket that you are going to carefully lay on the back of the couch and cuddle up in when you're reading a book and not eat popcorn or Cheetos and wipe your hands on it like your kids might, you can make that out of a different fiber. And you're going to be more patient about it drying because you don't need your security thing with you all the time, like a toddler would. So how it's going to be cared for is important. And then I think one of the last things that's really important to think about is, do you like the fabric that you come up with? So let's say you want to make I'm trying not to go back to the same examples again and again, but I'm going to. Let's say you want to make a shawl. And like my friend, the pattern is in wool and you want to make it in cotton. I think you should make a swatch and see what your fabric looks like. So if I think that's a forgotten purpose of swatching. It's not just about, are your stitches the right size, but once you get your stitches the right size, do you have a fabric you like? So if you're switching from a wool to a cotton, and let's say you're making a pretty dense fabric and you make gauge with your cotton yarn, and that cotton yarn is like super stiff, like you would put your shawl on and it would just like stand up. It's so stiff. Maybe you're like, yes, a shawl that's just going to stay up close to my face. That's amazing. Or maybe you're like, it looks like it's been, oh, what's the word? Not shout. Starched. It looks like it's like a men's shirt that's been starched too much and just like stands up on its own. And so no, I don't care for that fabric. So, so looking at the fabric that you get with your yarn choice is really important too. So I have an example of that. So because I think we think, especially if we have limited experience in the variety of yarns that we've used, I think we think that all yarns of a certain type have certain characteristics. So I think we oftentimes think of wool as more drapey. We think of acrylic as a little more stiff. We think of cotton as like super stiff. But that's not always the case. That's not always the case. So, same fiber contents can run quite a gambit as well, from stiff to drapey, depending on how the yarn is processed. So I have an example of this. So I have two things of cotton yarn here. This guy, that looks like, was it Freddy Krueger that had the Wolverine, maybe. I know it's Wolverine for sure. This is Aunt Lydia's yarn. It's what you buy at like Joann's. I think it's Aunt Lydia's yarn. Or maybe it's Sugar and Cream. It's one of those yarns that you get in just like the little cake at Joann's or Michael's. And it's stiff. It's 100% cotton, but it's pretty stiff. And then I have this lovely yarn from Circolo that is also a 100% cotton yarn. And I want to show you how they behave differently, because this is a very drapey cotton yarn and this is a very stiff cotton yarn. You're probably thinking, Sarah, what is going on here? What I did was, years ago, I hanged this yarn up. So I took the like little cake or bullet of yarn that you get this in, and I opened up my Swift and I wrapped it around my Swift so that it would become a hank, because I was going to let the boys tie-dye it. To what end, I don't know, which is why it's probably been sitting in my basement for years. So what I did was I just hanged it up so that you could see, so we have a good comparison here. So I'm going to take this yarn and I'm going to shake it, and I want you to look at it. Do you see how stiff that yarn is when I shake it? 100% cotton. Do you see how wobbly that yarn is when I shake it? Also 100% cotton. It has to do, probably, I'm no expert in cotton yarn, but how it's spun, how it's like what type of specific cotton it is. So I could work up 2 swatches in 100% cotton yarn and come up with 2 totally different drapes of the yarn. So getting a fabric that you like for your project is important. One of the ways that I think this is important that we don't think about is, what does your project need? So I think a great example of this is if you're making a basket, you need a yarn that's stiff because you want a basket that stands up on its own. And if you use a yarn that is too drapey, you can have really tight tension and still have a basket that's kind of floppy. Another place that I don't have a lot of experience in, but I imagine is really important, is in amigurumi. Do you have to use cotton yarn for amigurumi? No. But do you want a yarn that's going to, that when you crochet it up, is going to fill in? Like, you don't want a bunch of holes with your stuffing poking through. So depending on the project will depend on the kind of fabric you want and need. And as you're substituting yarn, That's an important thing to think about. So, is there one specific yarn for one type of project? Absolutely not. But I hope as you make substitutions and as you make your yarn choices, you'll think about these questions and hopefully they'll help you make the best choice possible. There you go. All right, let's talk small businesses. I have my black and white mug here from, let's see, Jan Damer's Pottery. They'll be linked below because I'm almost certain I'm not saying that name right. I love this mug. I didn't have anything dark, so that was part of the reason why I was drawn to this mug. I've also been on a big black and white kick lately. I'm digging the stripes, digging the bold black and white patterns, and it's big. It holds a lot of coffee, which I love, So, you guys, quick little story time before I share my earrings with you. So, I have been on a bit of a kick. Cleaning out things. So we have a closet cabinet in our upstairs that has 4 individual cabinets, I guess. It's not a full closet, so I guess we'll call it a cabinet. And so I decided that I was going to clean out those this weekend. So I went through, I threw away. Guys, I had purple shampoo from when I used to have blonde in my hair. I have not had blonde in my hair for years. So I threw that away. I just went through and did stuff like that. And as I'm going through one of the cupboards there, I pull everything out and I'm like, oh, it's an earring that I lost like 2 or 3 years ago. It was one of my very most favorite earrings. I knew I had worn it modeling for a pattern, and I went through, my whole office I've gone through several times thinking that this was for sure the place I was going to find it. And I obviously did not. I found it yesterday. I was so excited. So, but my boys are both very interested in going. I have a drawer on my dresser in my bedroom that has jewelry in it. And they are very interested in going through that. They like to take out all the giant rings, you know, fake costume jewelry things and put them on. My oldest especially is really into is this fake or real? Is this one fake or real? Is this one fake or real? Is this one fake or real? I have this, costume jewelry ring that has a diamond on it that's that big. It's ridiculous. And he's always like, is that real? I'm like, no. So anyways, they have gone through that and messed stuff up and spun stuff around. So I briefly started going through that drawer and taking things out and getting rid of things and putting some things in a donate pile and looking for did I keep the other earring? And the sad news is I have not found it yet. I haven't gone thoroughly through my jewelry box. That's going to take a while. And I was trying to do this while the kids were getting ready for bed last night. But what I did find is some earrings I haven't worn in a while because they were in that jewelry box with other stuff on top of them. So these earrings are from Cheeky Ceramics. You know I love Rin. This I think was the first thing I bought from them. And they just look like knit fabric. And I think that they're so fun. They are nice and lightweight. And I love them. So I saw Rin at our farmer's market. And I think she had some of these. So you could probably message Rin and see if they have some, and I'll put their website. I'll put their website down below. So there you go, small businesses. Coffee. Announcements. The mystery crochet along pre-sale for yarn has started. It started on Sunday. There are 4 kits The pre-sale is going to run August 18th through August 31st. This is the year 2024, just in case you're watching this way in the future. You need the coupon code SEKMCAL. So SEKMCAL. And I don't know if case matters. When Tanya sent it to me, it was all lowercase. So if I were you, that's what I put it in. Please put it in when you check out. It's always a challenge for us to go back and change things. The kit includes 4 skeins of DK weight yarn, and I'm so excited because I received my 2 kits for the samples I'm going to make in the mail this week. So let me show them to you. I asked for, you're gonna be shocked by this, Kaleidoscope Festival. Look at those bold colors. Aren't they fun and gorgeous? I can take them all out and show them to you separately too. And then also I was like, I suppose I should get a neutral one. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm about ready to go on her website and maybe buy the other 2 kits too because I really love them that much. This is Birds of a Feather, and it's just so pretty. So let's open up Birds of a Feather here. Birds of a Feather comes, each kit comes with 4 skeins, and they are 3 tonals and 1 speckled. That's what we chose to do. So let's pull out the speckled first because the tonals come from the speckled. Sorry if that's a lot of noisiness. So this is the speckled yarn. You can see it's got the yellow and the blue and that kind of taupey gray. And then it's got some great blue speckles on it. Super fun. So taking from there, we've got this really gorgeous gray blue that I absolutely love. This kind of cool taupey color, which I really like. And then this bold yellow, which is just so stunning. So that is the Birds of a Feather kit. And then here is the Kaleidoscope Festival kit. So this is the speckled. You can see lots of gorgeous bold colors crossing over some into the Birds of a Feather. They're all kind of related to each other. So lots of pinks and teals, but you can see there's also the yellow, kind of like the Birds of a Feather colorway. And then from there, Tanya pulled this really gorgeous, like sea blue teal. And I noticed, oh, I should have said this, I guess, with the last one. I don't know how much of the label I showed you there with that last one, but my Birds of a Feather skeins are mislabeled, which doesn't matter to me because I know. But they say, I just want to say, just in case you caught as I was turning, you read the label a little bit. They say sport weight on them. It's not sport weight, it's DK weight. They were just mislabeled. So then there's also this stunning deep kind of cobalt cornflower blue. This is one of my favorite colors for always and forever. I really love that. And then this nice hot pink, which you know I love a good hot pink. So super, super excited. These all have our superwash nylon 75/25 and 246 yards per 100 grams. So that's what's going to come in a kit. And there are 2 more kit combinations. There is, let's see, Foxy, which has like some really nice neutrals, some gray and taupey colors, and then a really nice orange. And then Autumn Floor, which is the other one that I'm like, if I'm going to get another one, I think it's going to be that. Which has some deep a bold yellow, some deep purples and pinks. That's just really gorgeous. So kits are on sale now. They are on discount. I'm like, sale. You can buy them, and there's currently the discount now through August 31st. SEKMCAL. And that will reduce the price of the kits to $98 for all 4 skeins, which is awesome. The pattern will be coming at the end of September, I think. We'll do pre-orders for that so that we can get rolling right away on the actual crochet along starting October 1st. Excuse me. If you have never done a mystery crochet along, what it is I'm going to create a pattern that is worked in sections. I didn't want to say pieces. They're not going to be separate pieces, but it's going to be worked in some distinct sections. And it will be released section by section. So it's going to be a 4-week process to work a shawl. Fingers crossed. I've said this in the past, but I just got my my kits, so I'm gonna dive into that. I have a couple little projects I need to knock out, and then that's next on my list to get working. But I'm feeling confident that it's going to work. So so that's what's going to happen. It'll be released in sections of 4 weeks, and by the end you'll have a whole shawl. I like to make my make-alongs pretty chill, so I'm not assuming that you'll be working 40 hours to get this section of the shawl done. I'm thinking, a few hours, like casual crafters can do this and keep up and be fine. So that's the plan. I'm so excited. I hope you'll join me. It's just so much fun. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lovely week and get to do some making and just relax and enjoy your craft some. I hope you'll come back and join me here again next week. And until then, happy crafting.